CHGO Spirit Week is now in your face. What up, y'all? CHGO Bulls is on your airways. We got a lot to get into. Huge NBA trade. Marc Stein is going to come on and talk the Billy Donovan extension with us as well. CHGO Spirit, which means Katie's about to smack you in the face with the spirit fingers. Welcome in to CHGO Bulls Podcast, and also welcome in to CHGO Spirit Week. Sound effect? No. Bam! There's one for you. How about that? Thank y'all for joining us, y'all. Big Dave rolling along with you. We'll take that. We'll take it. We're rolling along with you. That man over there with the perfect quaff is Will the Go Gottlieb. You can follow him on Twitter at Will_Gottlieb. The one back there hitting the horn on Spirit Week is Katie. How are you?
I was not prepared for a sound effect, but I'm good.
She's right. That was on me. That's kind of how
the sound effect was, hi.
I wasn't prepared for that one either.
It is a big, big, big day and also a big, big, big week, ladies and gentlemen. But first, I'm going to let you know, coming up on the show, big talk on the NBA trade, y'all. We're going to definitely get into that. And our guy, Marc Stein, is going to be joining us to talk his report on a Billy Donovan extension with the team. But as I just said, it is CHGO Spirit Week, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are excited about it. We got awesome, cool stuff coming at you all week long. Let's take a look at what we will be doing today, Monday, our favorite CHGO t-shirt. That's what we're wearing right now. Me and myself and Will the Go Gottlieb both had that on. On Tuesday, musical chair. It will be mystery guest day. I heard we have a guest. It's a mystery. I don't know who it is. Goat doesn't like that. He wants to be prepared.
I want to prepare, but I can't do that if I don't know who's talking to us. So,
but it's all right.
Well, mystery guest day might be fun and exciting and spontaneous for some people. It's going to just cause me a lot of stress.
Tune in tomorrow for the stress that Will the Go Gottlieb on mystery guest day.
I'm going to have to put together a whole draft database for this.
On Wednesday, it's going to be Musical Chairs Day. On Thursday, it will be Big Brothers and Big Sisters Day. And on Friday, it's for y'all especially, will be Die Hard Day. Now, also, during this CHGO Spirit Week, we will be having a fundraiser going on all week long for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. So in the chat, you'll see that hands icon. When you click it, you can donate as much as you would like to, whatever you have. Please give, ladies and gentlemen, 100% of your donations will go directly to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. YouTube will even cover the transaction fees. All you have to do is just give from your heart, ladies and gents. We have a goal. The goal is starting at 10K. We are hoping to crush that and destroy that and continue to move forward so we can give more money to the children out there. And also, you can sign up to be a big brother or a big sister at bbbs.org/all-city. And also, flash sale going on right now, y'all, just for today. You get you one of these awesome, cool t-shirts that we got on. Yes, and take 30% off of most items in the store. You can do that at allchgo.com. Goat, we were chilling yesterday on Father's Day. Everything was going nice. Everything was going smooth. But then all of a sudden, Sham said, guess what? I'm going to go ahead and drop the bomb on y'all, ladies and gentlemen, because Sham dropped a bomb, in the words of your guy, Goat, with a bang. Bang. There it is. Very good, sir. It was a huge trade. Katie's not impressed by the bang. She thought it was a horrible bang. Ladies and gents. It's all right. But it was a huge, huge trade that went on in the NBA.
I mean, this was a blockbuster on the magnitude of like the Mikal Bridges trade.
Yeah.
A lot of people are comparing it to.
Without a doubt.
Like there's one or two or maybe three trades that are this big.
Yeah.
That are this out of the blue. Like Kevin Durant is going to be a guy who's traded. We all know that's going to be traded. It's not going to hit the same way this did because there was like time to mentally prepare and think about where he could go.
Sure.
Desmond Bane wasn't even on the trade block as far as any of us knew. I mean, getting into the details here.
Yeah, let me run down details for you, ladies and gentlemen. The Orlando Magic, as you see, received Desmond Bane, and they traded him to, they received him, and the Memphis Grizzlies received Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, the 2025 first-round pick, that's the 16th overall pick, the 2026, the 2028, and the 2030 first-round picks, and the 2029 first-round pick swap that is top 2 protected. Now, that first-round pick in 2026 also includes swap rights from either the Phoenix Suns or the Washington Wizards. It feels and it seems like a whole lot to give up for one player, but if you feel like he's your guy, you take a swing on him. We just did a show talking about who the Bulls should be taking big swings on. Orlando just took a colossal swing and are going with Desmond Bane.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of different angles I want to look at this from.
Sure.
Before we actually dig into Bane specifically, I do want to say that I want to spend some time talking about how this relates to the Bulls.
Spend it.
Both from the asset standpoint of Bane and how much he costs and like what the Grizzlies are doing with that, the GM's approach, all of that compared to what the Bulls are doing. What's their approach with their assets? How does Coby compare to Bane? How do some of the other Bulls young players compare to that? And what is the approach of the Grizzlies front office compared to the Bulls? So I do think that a lot of this, at least the way I was thinking about it through my lens of just always thinking about the Bulls, I really felt like there were a lot of parallels that I wanted to draw from, but I also think it's just really interesting to consider this as its own deal. So, I mean, 4 first-round picks and a swap, obviously 16, there's like no upside in that. It is what it is. It's 16, but that's a solid mid-first round pick.
Sure.
You have the upside with the Suns pick next year and then 2 future first-round picks. So from the Grizzlies standpoint, I think this makes a lot of sense, right? Like this was a team that had been a play-in team the last couple of years. They have a good young core, but it kind of had stagnated out. They weren't really like, I mean, they got swept in the first round by the Thunder. Like they needed to reinvent themselves in some way. And I don't think it was wise for them to just bet on the fact that these guys are still 25-ish years old. We have more upside. Like the West is too good for that. You can't just like let this play out the way that it was and expect anything to change. So I think it'll be interesting to know if like they are going to continue to offload guys. Ja, obviously Jaren, 2 big names that could be really enticing to a lot of teams. Sounds like not the case. Sounds like they're going to continue building and just moving forward now with the additional picks that they have. And maybe they turn around and use those picks to get somebody else because that really was a haul. I mean, you think about the Rudy Gobert trade, you think about the Mikal Bridges trade. It's a lot of assets going out for a guy that is a really good player, but not an all-star, right? Like he has not been an all-star in this league.
True.
He is, I should pull this up, but I believe like 25, 26 years old. He is on a 5-year contract worth just under $200 million. And that escalates, right? So last year was the first year of his deal. This is going to be his age 27 season, making $36.7 million, then 39.4, 42.1, and 44.8. So that's all around 23% of the salary cap. It's a big number, not a huge number, but for what the Magic are right now in terms of a team with 2 young superstars in Franz and Paolo. And I say that intentionally. These guys are going to be superstars in this league. They've got another really high-end role player plus who I think is, just Jalen Suggs, like any team would love to have him. Elite defensive player, can dribble, pass, shoot on offense, can run you some offense, but really high-end player. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. They've got a great infrastructure, and they're locked into now a core with those 3 plus Desmond Bane for the next 4 years where they can really see what those guys can do together. And I think Bane is one of the best shooters in the league. He defends okay, not great, but like not terrible. So I think he fits perfectly, and I think he can help unlock a lot of what Franz and Paolo will eventually become because of the floor spacing, off-ball shooting, and just more of a dynamic player at the 2-guard position than what they had before. So I like this for them a lot. It is certainly a ton to give up, but I think if you're the Magic, you're thinking this is the 16th pick. Maybe the Suns are pretty bad next year and you get a high-end pick there, but 2 future first-round picks. Our guys are all 24, 25 years old or younger, we're expecting to be really good. The East is wide open. Like, these are probably going to be picks in the mid to late 20s. So they probably feel okay with that. And the other thing is, it's not like they're giving out picks 7 years in advance. It was really only 5 years. So I like this trade for them. I don't love it. I do think it's a lot to give up, but I also think it was a risk worth taking for them because of how well he fits in terms of timeline, in terms of skill set, in terms of maximizing the other players on the team, and in terms of how wide open the East is.
Yeah.
This is not like an Eastern Conference where everybody stinks and they're going to be the number 1 seed, but it is a situation where they could be a top 4 seed now for the next 5 years. And I think that if that happens and they maybe make one finals or one or two conference finals, then it's worth it, right?
Then it's a success, yeah. I guess, I look at it like you from both sides of this. One, Memphis, I mean, just gives them a ton of flexibility and options. You know what I mean? That's what that does when you get that many picks back for a team that won almost 50 games. But again, they're in the West, so it's much, much more competitive. It's a little harder. You're going to have to be a 50-plus win team in that Western Conference. So honestly, just this gives them that flexibility, not only just for Desmond Bane, but flexibility for their future if they decide to do something off of Ja Morant, or if they decide to do something off of Triple J. Like, it gives them still flexibility to continue to move forward and not move with any kind of fear or indecision if they want to move those young guys. So I think it's great. I love it for them. You know what I mean? And how they're going to go forward with it. It also just reminds me of OKC, you know, and kind of how they're building it, stockpiling on the draft picks and, you know, building that kind of way. That's the impact you see of a team that is running the Western Conference this season. You see how it's impacting them. You're watching how the Pacers are impacting the East right now, because that's why you take a swing on a guy like Desmond Bane. As you mentioned, not an all-star or anything like that, but still a good player.
Truly one of the best shooters in the league.
Yes, one of the 9 and 10 good players that they can now have on their team. As you mentioned, they have those 2 stars, and it gives them a real threat of a trio, not just a threat of a 6 seed. Like, this is a threat, like going to the Eastern Conference Finals, super kind of threat, high-seeded squad right there, man. So you're getting a guy, as you mentioned, like averaging for his career 17, shooting 47% from the field and 41% from 3 for his career, ladies and gentlemen. And even last year, like 19 points, career high 6 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 48% from the field, 39 from 3, do it in 32 minutes a game, and did it in 69 games. Nice. But
that was a down year for him.
And that's what I was just about to say. That was a year where he's like, oh, man, under 20 points? That's not a normal year for a guy like Desmond Bane, but still shooting close to 40% from the 3-point line. You know what? Desmond Bane made 51% of his open catch and shoot jumpers. All right. The Magic finished 30th in the NBA, making 35% of those attempts. This is a colossal upgrade for that team over there in Orlando, man. And it shows you just how serious and how thin they think the margin is in the Eastern Conference for them to move forward and get into the playoffs, man. Your Eastern Conference championship were 2 teams, like just with a guy like Jalen Brunson, who's a second-round pick, a star for sure, and with Karl Anthony Towns. But then you're having the Indiana Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton, another star, but with just a bunch of guys that are good around them. We already know that they can play defense in Orlando. We already know that they can be physical, and they got that goon in them. But now they got that guy who can score 40. That is very, very important. And I'm not along with Paolo scoring, you know, with Paolo scoring 30 and, you know, with Wagner being able to score like that as well. Now you got somebody you can't leave. Now you got to guard this guy out on the perimeter, man. Orlando definitely got better. It's a lot, honestly, like Goat said, to give up. It's a lot. But when you know what you want and you're sure on what you want, you pay any price to get it, because you have to have that kind of vision for your team. So I respect that for Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show what kind of leverage the Memphis Grizzlies had. And I think this really sets them up well. Clearly, the Magic were in need of a high-level shooting guard who was in their time frame, who could dribble, pass, shoot, score, and who could open up the floor for their younger players. And so they had the leverage to be able to ask for everything, and that's what they got. And now you have a team that has Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey, Jalen Wells, Scottie Pippen Jr., Jay Huff. I mean, you have Gigi Jackson, who barely played last year. Mm-hmm. They're a really deep team, and now they have all their own picks plus 4 additional ones, which gives them a ton of flexibility to go out and maybe trade for Giannis, or go out and maybe trade for Kevin Durant, or bide their time and figure out how they want to approach this, or maybe they want to just tear it all down. So they have a ton of optionality, not to mention still a really solid team. And we'll see kind of how that plays out next year.
We'll see how it goes, man. Coming up, we're going to continue talking about this trade and just how it impacts the Chicago Bulls and how it impacts Coby White. And like we said, Marc Stein on the way as well. CHGO Bulls.
Breaking news from Bet365. We have a new promo dropping exclusively for the NBA Finals that offers customers a chance to win a jackpot of up to $100,000 in bonus bets with the first play fortune. To enter for a chance to win, you must place a same game 3-leg parlay where the 3 legs are player to score the first basket, player to get the first assist, and player to get the first rebound. Only bets consisting of these exact 3 legs qualify. Log in, place your bet, or sign up using code CHGO365. Deposit $10 and place your 3-leg same-game parlay for at least $1. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. In-app only. Terms and conditions apply. Opt-in required.
You know what, Goat? Making money moves should be just like you. Should be solid and
the GOAT?
smooth. Yes. Should be the GOAT transactions you make all the time, ladies and gentlemen. And the GOATs of that is Cash App. There are no extra hoops to jump through. There's no extra stress. You just send your money very simply, and they will receive your money very simply. And guess what? Vice versa. It works both ways, y'all. For real. It's no catch. Just download the Cash App and sign up. And when you sign up, ladies and gentlemen, you can use this referral code here, CHGO Bulls, in your profile. And guess what? Send $5 to a friend, and within 14 days, you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. No fuss, no mess, just very simple. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Rolling along with you, CHGO Bulls podcast. Big Dave, Will Gottlieb, Katie on production. Shout out to our first donation for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure you click that icon in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, and donate and give to your heart content. We appreciate it, and the kids appreciate it as well.
It's right on the chat. You'll see it on the chat where you can type in. There's the little emoji face where you can plug one of those in. Right to the right of that, the handshake with the heart. Click there. Donate to our friends and family at Big Brothers and Big Sisters America.
That's how it goes. Rolling along, man. We are going to continue talking about this trade. Go now.
Oh wait, sorry. Before we do that,
yes,
we also I feel like we didn't mention what shirts we were wearing on T-shirts.
Okay, all right, we can get into that
just real quick.
Yeah,
you got the London CHGO.
You know, I was talking to Steven, and he was like, you know, I was gonna wear that, but then he went with something else, and I said, well, yeah, I knew a lot of people wouldn't have had this on, and he said, well, yeah, you had to be there to get it. I was like, is that a flex right there? Am I flexing on you right there a little bit?
That's
Steven?
a flex.
That's a flex. That Steven said it's a flex, and it's a flex. So yes, but you could acquire. This is my favorite shirt. Brings back a lot of cool memories when I put it on.
Memories and experience. And I'm, of course, wearing the CHGO Sports Pizza shirt because pizza is my favorite thing.
Pizza's your favorite thing?
I think I wear this shirt a lot.
I thought it was salad.
I don't know that people have seen the back, obviously, on me, but like, Katie, if there's a picture of that, it's a great graphic.
Yeah.
You guys should go check it out.
I was really proud.
Off, right?
I was really 30% off. Correct. I was really proud of Katie's joke because she was proud of it. Her face
here
lit
I am
up
just trying to like be a
really
company man, you know, talk about the awesome merch that we're creating, and Katie's like making fun of me, but whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I thought of it and I can't not say it when I think about it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Whatever.
Yeah. Still an awesome shirt. Look great.
Whatever.
You look wonderful in the shirt.
Thanks, Dave.
And you can get
I'm
that
glad
shirt.
somebody cares about me.
Oh, yeah. AllCHGO.com, ladies and gentlemen. Flash sale. You can only get this deal today. 30% off only today. Hit the website right now and go ahead and look as cool and smooth as that young man is over there. Look at Sales Guy Jim wearing the same shirt as me. Look at this. Look at that guy. Shout out. I see you right there, sir. Very nice. Very nice. We were talking about the NBA trade, sir, the huge NBA trade that happened
Desmond Bane.
Yesterday. Now, Desmond Bane, when I think of him, obviously, as you mentioned, a guy who's not an all-star, but just a really great shooter, you know, can really impact the team and has the ability to score maybe 30 or 40 points. Kind of sounds a little familiar,
it does sound
you know, to
familiar.
somebody here in Chicago. And immediately that brings up a guy like Coby White, not just because of the skill set, but also because of the contract that Coby White has. He is on the last year of his 3-year, $36 million extension. He's an unrestricted free agent after this season, making 12.8. It's only about 8% of the cap right there, so he's under a really solid deal. But it's on its way up. And Coby White, the better he gets, the more money he is going to demand. And he has been absolutely awesome. And I expect him to have another really good this season coming up this year. But it begs the question, Goat, like after seeing what had to be given up for a guy like Desmond Bane, knowing that Coby White kind of has those same similarities in his game, does that impact what his trade market is going to be?
So I do want to compare those guys a little bit, and I think that is kind of a good way to start that conversation.
Thank you.
Number one, I was just looking at the Ringer Top 100 players, which we've referenced a couple times before on the show.
And will again.
Do you think that, before we get into that, do you think Desmond Bane is better than Coby, just basketball player?
Basketball? Ooh, yeah.
I think you have to say yes. I mean, you look at Bane's career season last year, not this past season, but the one before, 23.7.
I'll say I don't say it with 100% certainty, but I do think he's better.
Yeah, he averaged 23.7 points that year, 4.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists. Like, he's been to the playoffs multiple times. Yeah. He's been a core piece of what they're doing. And he is 1 year older, right? So last year was Kobe's age 25 season. This past year was Bane's age 26 season. Mm-hmm. I think he's better. Not like by a ton,
That's
but
like,
I
mean. Yeah.
I do think that Bane is a more reliable three-point shooter. He's been over 40% multiple times. Coby has not. He's averaged over 20 points per game multiple times. Coby has not. So I think just like for what they are in terms of scoring guards that are not pure points, I would say, but more dynamic than a pure two.
Sure.
I think he is just a better player. Again, not by much, but the Ringer has him as 47th overall. I think they had Coby at 71st. So there's a sizable gap there. And I think you are paying that premium, right? If you are Orlando, like that goes to that. So if you think about what the cost would have been if it was Coby instead, and we were sitting here talking about was 16 and 25 enough from Orlando to get Coby, and they added, I mean, not 25, but 16, 3 future first and the Suns. So like, I mean, it just feels like I couldn't help but think about like, what could the Bulls have gotten if it was Coby instead of Bane in this deal? I do think part of the incentive for Orlando was that they got off of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's contract.
Sure.
That was not a good contract for them. Obviously, he's a solid player, but just had a down year. So I don't know. Like, would you have done 2 first-round, 3 first-round picks plus KCP, taken on some of that bad money, and maybe sent out Javon Carter something to match, where you are getting back 16, the Suns pick, and maybe 1 more pick for Coby? Do you feel like that would have been fair value? Because like to me, that's probably the difference. And like 3 first-round picks, I feel like you would just have, that would be like a blowaway offer to me, where you would just have to say yes to that, even though I don't feel great about the upside on any of those picks. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I'm a little bit higher on this for Orlando than it seems like most people are. The upside isn't quite there for me with any of these picks, because it's not like I think any of them are going to be high lottery picks, but it's hard to turn that many picks down. And so I was thinking about this from the perspective of the Bulls. Like, should they have gotten in on this and said, you know, Coby, pretty good, pretty close to what Bane can do. Like, I would say almost as good a player, like very close in terms of quality. Would you do it for 1 less pick? Like, I feel like the Bulls would have had to do that, right?
Yeah, I think they would have, but I think the Bulls also would want a player, you know, in there. Like, just looking at how this front office has operated, the value of the draft hasn't been huge for them, but players that they get back is a thing that they really, really enjoy. So I think you would have to have a way to get that as well. And you mentioned giving Javon Carter up, you know what I'm saying, maybe taking back KCP, you know, in that contract and things like that. So and you know, they love a toolsy veteran, you know what I'm saying, like that. Yeah, I mean, he can be that guy for them.
In between Giddey and maybe you draft a 3 or something. Yeah. Like he could have been useful.
But also I look at it in terms, and I don't know how you look at it, Goat, as this, if you look at it the same way, but I also look at it in terms of the Bulls' flexibility and what they could do with those picks. So for me, it's not so much about getting the picks to actually draft someone. It's about what kind of flexibility you can really provide your team, what kind of options you can really provide your team just by having this stockpile of picks. It's not something that you just necessarily have to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and draft this guy because we got him at this pick and we got him at this number right here. It's not like that anymore. you can use those picks and then trade them away for another option or another player. And the Bulls, like I said, like getting actual physical things back more so than the actual draft picks back. This allows you to get those things when you have those draft picks, and then you can continue to move and reshape your entire team when you do something like that. To answer your question, yes, this is something you probably have to do. If you're getting 3 first-round picks for Coby White, and that's because Desmond Bane has kind of set the price about what those kind of players are worth, yes, you have to go ahead and go with something like that.
Maybe Jeff Weltman calls Arturas and says, look, we've got a deal on the table for Desmond Bane. We're going to give up 4 first-round picks. Would you do it for 1 less pick for Coby? Like, I have a hard time being able to say no to that, even though, again, I'm not like crazy about the upside on any of these. It's just too good a value to pass up.
So it's not really the picks, but it's just the value and the options that you can get.
It's the value and the options because of the contracts. And I think that's the other piece of this, which is really interesting, is that Desmond Bane is signed for 4 years. And that makes it easier for a team like the Magic to absorb him, where they don't have to worry about re-signing him. Whereas Coby, yes, he's making less this year, which makes him more tradable. But longer term, you're going to have to extend him. And I think that can be a good thing, depending on how you look at it, or a bad thing. But I wonder, like, is Coby going to get what Desmond Bane is getting? I don't think he would. I don't think he's going to get 34, 36, 39, 42, $44 million.
Right. But I'm saying, like, any team you trade him to, like, they're going to have to re-sign him, right? Like, you're not giving up all those assets just for a 1-year, run on Coby White. So are you willing to pay $30+ million, for his services?
But that's what I'm saying. I think I would rather have Coby if I'm Orlando, because not only is he cheaper this year and have a smaller cap hold, which gives me flexibility going into next year, he's almost as good a player, and I'm going to get him for a lot less money, because I don't think Coby is going to get $35 million. I think he'll probably get close to 30, which to me makes all of this work. Like, it allows you to still have flexibility. I think the one thing that makes this a risky play for Orlando is that it's very difficult now to make the next move.
Okay.
There is still some ways to do that. They didn't trade all their picks. They've still got matching salary. They've got Jonathan Isaac. They could move Wendell. They've got Anthony Black. Like, they've got movable pieces. But if you've got Kobe's contract, which is only 12, it's a third of what Bane is making next year.
Yeah.
Like, that gives you so much more flexibility. And so in that way, I feel like you could have gotten a similar deal. And I wonder now if the Bulls will be willing to look into that kind of deal, look into that kind of value play. Even if you're not crazy about giving up your guy, is that just so much value that you can't say no to giving that up?
I'm not saying that Memphis is open for sale, open for business. So that this is what this trade kind of indicates. But the question has to be asked about Triple J. Like, do you go ahead and make that kind of move?
Because I wanted to, I was kind of trying to lead into the idea of the Bulls front office and their approach compared to the Grizzlies. And how Zach Kleinman, who's the Grizzlies GM, came out of their season and basically said, like, 48 wins, great for an 8th seed, not good enough.
I kind of want to hear him.
And compared to the Bulls. But yeah, I mean, we have a clip of that. So maybe, Katie, if you can play it.
Yeah, let's hear a clip of the Grizzlies GM, Mr. Zach Kleiman, talking about why it wasn't good enough. This was after the season
why they wanted to make this trade
over. And this is kind of, this is what it sounded like, ladies and gents.
Disappointing season. A lot to sort through here. 48 wins, good for an 8 seed, but who cares? It's not good enough.
That just makes my soul on fire. That just makes me excited, bro. Because that's the dude running my team telling me that we almost got 50 wins and that crap wasn't good enough. We ain't go far. We didn't do what we needed to do. No, we making changes right here. Instead of hearing, well, we're on the right path. Well, you had us getting 28 wins and we got 39. Wow, you're still losing. All right? Still ain't a good thing. All right? I like dudes who are like this at that level and are like, this ain't good enough, man. It makes me ride for the team when I hear stuff like that, bro.
Absolutely. I totally understand that. And I think it speaks to the approach. And it's a different world in the Eastern Conference compared to the West. I don't want to discount that part of it.
Sure.
48 wins in the East, you would have been a top 4 seed. But the fact of the matter is, like, they ended higher than the Bulls in terms of the playoffs. Like, they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if the Bulls would have, that they would have been really happy with that outcome.
Right.
And I think, like, if you're happy with 39 wins, if you're happy with making the play-in, then you're just not going to be open to making those kind of deals, because those are deals that set you up long-term for long-term success. And the Bulls are about making everything work today, right now.
Right. They want it right here in your face. Not good enough is what I want to hear from a GM coming off a season. I don't care how many wins you got. If we didn't go far in the playoffs, season was not good enough. I love hearing that stuff right there, man. I'd love to hear more of that. Coming back, we're going to continue with some more talk about this trade, and we are definitely going to get into the extension of Billy Donovan when we talk about it with our guy, Marc Stein. Coming up, CHGO Bulls Spirit Week.
Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. It's your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. It has an expertly curated menu, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup at locations in the city like Wrigleyville and River North, or in the suburbs like Champaign, South Beloit, and more. If you're a pro, they've got you covered with over 100 strains to choose from on their menu. And if you're just starting out, Sunnyside's expert guidance and brands they know you love, like Good News and Mindy's. Visit sunnyside.shop for Bright Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright Buys every day, only for 21 and older, or Illinois MedCard holders. And for existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are simple rules in life. Look both ways before crossing the street. Don't touch the quaff. And, of course, don't get biffed. Stay away from biff, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to go find about flooring at a big box store. Do it with the shop-at-home convenience that you only get from our friends at Empire Today. They have flooring experts that are dedicated flooring professionals whose focus is on flooring every single day. With Empire Today, you get that clear upfront pricing and that all-inclusive price. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners, you can receive up to $350 discount when using that promo code CHGO. Yep, you heard what I said. $350 discount. Use the code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. 588-2300 Empire Today. CHGO Bulls podcast, back in your face and on your airwaves. Shout out to my man Shirtless Wonder. I saw him out there. I hope he's donating, ladies and gentlemen, because we got another donation from the big brothers and big sisters of America. Continue to keep donating, y'all. Continue to show the children that love so we can hit this goal for them of 10K. As I said, 100% of what you're sending in is going directly to the big brothers and big sisters of America, and YouTube is paying the transaction fees, so all money goes directly to a wonderful, wonderful organization. Before, when we were still talking about this trade, I asked you about Jaren Jackson Jr. and just about his availability, and does this trade kind of signal that? And is this something that maybe the Bulls should be looking at? Because it's something you have touched on a couple of times during the week.
Yeah, I mean,
last week, I should say.
So after kind of considering this from the perspective of like, should the Bulls be sellers and maximize the opportunity that they have with Coby, you look at it from the other perspective, which is maybe they should be buyers. Maybe they should be the ones pushing chips in. I'm not sure. Like we talked about last week, the idea of pre-agency at the trade deadline of maybe if things are going really well, you can kind of hit the gas pedal a little bit, understanding that you're probably not going to like make any max contract signings in free agency. Maybe you can push a few chips in terms of draft capital and go out and trade for a guy and bring somebody back who can be that type of player. And so to me, Jaren Jackson fits to a T what the Bulls need. He is a former defensive player of the year. He's an absolutely elite rim protector and three-point shooter. And that combination is something that if you're talking about mimicking what the Pacers are doing, you need a big like that. And I think Jaren's even better than Miles Turner. So that would be such a great fit for the Bulls. He fits the timeline. Basically what you'd have to do is trade for him and then renegotiate and extend his contract where you bump his $21.5 million contract up to basically a max level and extend him on a max contract beyond that. I don't know that the Bulls are quite ready to do that. I want a little bit more concrete evidence of like they're actually good as opposed to this was just a flash in the pan from last season.
I like that.
If they get out to a 15-5 start to next year or a 25-10 start to next year, then you feel pretty good about it.
Sure.
And now it's like time to go. It's go time. You want to push some chips in and bring in a player that can, one, help raise your ceiling for next season, but also be a part of your core with Modest, with Coby, with Giddey, with Ayo, whoever else is on the team for many years to come. And I think Jaren would be the literally perfect fit in terms of a guy who can protect the rim, play the 4 and the 5, space the floor, get out and run, create his own shot. Like, he is just an absolutely awesome player. And I think he's going to be a true max player in the sense that, like, he's worth every penny of a max contract. Yeah. And that's the kind of guy who the Bulls really need to fit into their system, which they're trying to build out. So I don't know if he's available. It sounds like the Grizzlies want to keep him and continue to build with Ja and Jaren and bring somebody else in, which they now have the assets to be able to do. But if I'm the Bulls, like, that's the kind of guy I'm really going after. We talked about, like, should they make some big swings next year?
Yes.
Like, to me, he makes more sense than Porzingis. He makes more sense than Jaylen Brown or Kevin Durant. I mean, basically everybody outside of Giannis that could theoretically be available. I think Jaren makes more sense with the Bulls. All of this, it hinges on the concept of belief in Giddey and Coby as a backcourt.
Correct.
And I think that's what we really need to find out before you make that move. And that's why I wouldn't feel great about it happening today. But if you call Memphis and they're like, yeah, we're just going all in for picks, like, give us everything you got and salary filler, but you can keep Modest and we'll take something else, and you're able to maintain your core of Giddey, Modest, Coby, I think you would probably have to do that.
I think you make several good points, but the one that stood out to me was talking about how the Bulls, if they get off to that good start, what kind of answers that would give them. And I think it's the same as last year, because if you notice, when the Bulls got off to that slow start, immediately Zach, you know what I mean? They were like, okay, nope, we're making this trade. Ayo, something's wrong. You know what I mean? We got to shut this down. So they will answer those. I think those questions will be answered early, and they need those questions to be answered early. I don't think those questions, or they can afford for those questions to be answered after the All-Star break again. I think they have to come out with an immediacy of, okay, let's see how you guys gel. Let's see how it works. As you mentioned, Coby, and you mentioned Giddey. What's that going to look like? Throw Modest in there as well. You know, what's that going to look like? How are these guys going to play together? How significant of their impact could they have on this team? You have to answer that in the first half of the season. And I'm talking from game one. It has to be for this young team, because if it's not off to a great start and if it's not working, then you're like, okay, fine. Let's reset. Let's start over. Let's make these trades. Let's get some assets, because we know what's coming in this next draft. But if you do get off to, like you said, this 25-10 start, then that allows you to say, okay, I'm going to get a guy immediately. Like, I'm going to trade picks or whatever we have to trade to add to this awesome core that we have, or we think we have right here with these young guys on this young team. It will answer questions about Ayo. It will answer questions about Coby, both of those guys, as far as their contract is concerned. So, yeah, the Bulls getting off to that fast start would be just instrumental in how this front office is going to move forward and what kind of players and what kind of guys they're going to seek in, like, free agency or by trade.
And the other thing I think that's important here is, why is there urgency to do this now in the next 6 months? And I think that if you are going to go that approach and you are going to go the opposite of tearing it down, which, by the way, I still think is probably the better option.
It's the better option.
If you want to move forward, you don't feel super comfortable with the group that you have, collect as many picks as you can, set yourself up for the future.
Sure.
That's still my preferred approach. However, if you feel convicted that Coby and Giddey and Modest is the core of the future, there is some urgency, I think, to get a deal done in the next 6 months, probably by the trade deadline, where you do make a move like this, because you have cap space going into next summer. And that allows you to make one of these big swings in terms of giving a guy a max contract and then going back and re-signing your guys, using their bird rights to go above the salary cap. That allows you to keep your group together. And maybe you become a tax team or an apron team, and that's a separate conversation, which we don't know if the Bulls are going to be doing that. They've always said if they are a contender, then they would be willing to do that.
They have said
and that's the other thing, is like, if you are 25-10 to start next year and you go out and make a trade like this, there is reason for the ownership to sign off on the luxury tax. And if they don't do it, then you can lambast them, whatever.
Sure.
But
I will.
That's what they've said in the past. And I think it is kind of getting to the point where it's go time, because you're having to start paying Coby and Giddey and Ayo. So that is, I think, the predicament that the Bulls are in right now, which is when other teams have done this, the Rockets, for example, have had more runway because they're drafting these guys. They're on smaller contracts for 4 years.
They've got
and
time.
So you have runway. The Bulls traded for Giddey with 1 year left on his deal. Now he's going to be making a lot of money. Coby's already on his second contract. He had such a small one that it's effectively like a first contract in terms of his cap hold. That means they have a little bit of runway to go out and find the big contract. But as soon as those guys are making big deals, it becomes so much harder to bring in another big deal. You either have to do it by trade or doing it before you sign those guys to the big deals. And so that's why I express that urgency. And, you know, we're talking about like the comfort with the team and the trajectory. We're going to talk about Billy here in a second with Marc Stein. But like all the indications that we're seeing are that they feel very comfortable with where they are and happy with their core. So that tells me that they're bought into the core of this team. And obviously things can change in free agency and the draft, et cetera. But to me, like, again, not my preferred method, but if you are going to go all in with this team, you do need to start going all in. You cannot wait until Coby and Giddey are both making huge money, and now it's impossible to do that. You have to do it before those guys sign the big contracts.
And again, the importance of them getting off to that good start will, again, answer all of those kind of questions and all those kind of dilemmas that this front office may be dealing with, man. So, yeah, it's an interesting trade because of just how it affects not only the East, but just of how it affects the Chicago Bulls, too, and just how they look at the landscape of the trade market and what guys are worth and what their value is. I wonder now about even Ayo's value. You know what I'm saying? Like, does it increase? I know it's a pretty nice size. Like, it's kind of maybe even a Caruso size kind of value because of the age that he is. But does this something like this increase it and change it, knowing that he's on the last year of his deal and all those kind of things? Already, we just talked about it with Coby, but man, dude, like they have so many questions that they have to be answered that they have to do before the season begins. And then when they get there, they've got to buy in that very first half of it because they need these answers now, and they need them immediately, man. And they can't wait around for it.
And that's what makes building a team the way that they've done it so challenging. Because you just don't have a lot of time to evaluate. And when you don't have a lot of time to evaluate, it's hard to be sure about what you're signing up for. And that's how you end up with Patrick Williams on your books for 5 years. Like you spent 4 years not being sure what he was and then paying him to be something that you hoped he could become. You should already know that 4 years into a guy's career. They didn't, and now you end up with a bad contract. And it's the exact same thing that they're going to run into with Giddey. They only had 25 games of really feeling like he was the main guy, and you could see what he was. And now you have to make a decision that will last up to 5 years based on that 25 game sample. It's not enough. And so I think those are the challenges, but it's also why if you're going to pay these guys, there's even more urgency to get other good contracts on the books before you do that. And based on what Arturas said at his exit interview, which was like asking the fans for patience compared to what Zach Kleiman said, which was it's not good enough, nobody cares. It tells me that they're going to take a more patient approach. And I think that's you're going to see that window close where they haven't done anything. And now you're just locked into the team that you have all making more money and still not being good enough. And so again, I think the preference for me would be to tear it all down, get as many, assets as possible. But if you're not going to do that, there is, I think, a real argument to be made that they should go all in on something just so that they can take this group to its logical conclusion, which would be putting players around Ayo, Giddey, Coby to maximize them as players and allow them to see what we can see with them.
Yeah, very true. DJ SD, I'm not going to say your name, but bad teams stay bad. Oh, man. Like, yeah, it's a whole lot to answer, and they've done it in a really wild way. And we're going to sit back and watch how it is concluded. Before we get our guy, Marc Stein on here, man, you and I go talk about his news that the Bulls are currently in the process of extending the contract for one Bulls head coach, Billy Donovan. Shout out to Marc Stein for also using KD's thumbnail. Well done, sir. Awesome picture. I mean, I wasn't surprised hearing this go, but it's still like when you see it written out, you're like, it's here. It's like a storm that's coming. They're telling you the tornado is on the way. You know it's about to tear down, batten down, and you know it's going to happen. You live in tornado country. and you know it's gonna happen. But when it hits, it still hits like, oh damn, here it is. So Billy Donovan, right now, according to our guy Marc Stein, the Bulls are in the process of extending that contract for him to continue to be the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. Goat, your thoughts on this news?
Yeah, again, I'm not at all surprised. I think this was sort of the natural next step when you hear that the front office or that the team is not allowing him to communicate with another potential suitor. I think it is, I don't know. I don't think Billy's a bad coach. I don't think he's done anything either way to be like, this guy has really earned an extension and this guy deserves to be fired. I think it speaks to the organizational complacency and desire to keep the status quo. And I think that, again, I'm not like a Billy hater. I think he's done a really great job, and I think he hasn't done anything that would lead me to call for his job. But again, you look at what the Grizzlies GM said after 48 wins, doesn't matter. They fired their coach. Like, how is 39 wins, play and exit equal extensions? And to me, like, that's
confusing.
It's just very confusing.
Yeah.
It signals to the media, to the fan base that you are happy with where you are and you're happy with how things are going. And I just don't see how that can be the case when the result is what it has been.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. And the person who actually did that article, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're subscribing to his Substack, the Stein Line. You can catch him all over the All City Network. He has been everywhere today, but we appreciate him stopping by and gracing us with his amazing presence because, most importantly, he is a goon of the night winner, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to the one and only. Give it up for our guy, Marc Stein. How are you, sir?
Gentlemen, happy Spirit Week.
Yes, sir.
Do not touch the quaff. I heard my sources say Peck was so dismayed by my report last night. That's why he's not there today. The goat is riled up
physically.
The goat is riled up. What's
it's all
up?
like that. No, everything you just said, I can neither confirm nor deny, sir. So we're going to give you that on that. But thank you for being here. We really do appreciate you, man. When this news broke, it sent Bulls Twitter into a tizzy. Some fans were definitely on board. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. Some were indifferent, saying it's just not the priority, whatever. Some were using some interesting gifts to show that they were really upset with this. Can you talk about how this news kind of came about and how you came about this report?
Well, I got to be honest. I hope you guys can explain this to me because props to Casey Johnson, who was the first to report that the Knicks formally asked the Bulls for permission and the Bulls denied the Knicks permission. Billy Donovan, by all accounts, we believe he only has 1 year left on his deal from the last extension he received, which was entering the 2022-23 season. What did it signal when the Knicks said, when the Bulls said no to the Knicks? I mean, I think that signaled right there how strongly the Bulls, the fondness, the level of fondness that the Bulls have for Billy Donovan. And look, one person very well acquainted with the dynamics in Chicago, their statement to me last night, I reported, I'm 5:30 in the afternoon, something like that, maybe 4:30 Central, somewhere in that range. I tweeted that the Bulls are in the process of extending Billy Donovan's contract, and a very smart and well-placed source who knows the way the Bulls operate, their statement to me was they love Billy. And they is front office / ownership. And I don't think this is a huge revelation or a secret unearthed. You guys are there every day, and I think you know this well. Billy Donovan is incredibly well regarded by the people he works with and for. And so I really don't see this as any kind of surprise. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. You guys You guys tell me. I mean, am I? I'm a touch confused.
I don't think it's a surprise in the sense that it's happening. I think it's a surprise in the sense that there is so much, appreciation for him considering what the results have been. Was there anything from your sourcing that indicated anything about, we love the job he's done despite the fact that it's been a play-in exit the last 3 years, or we feel like we want to extend him to X, Y, or Z amount of years because we feel like we can get to a certain point after that time? Was there anything in the way of details about any of this?
I will also guess that this does not surprise you that any explanations or long addendums to support this information are not exactly widely circulated. I mean, the Bulls do not talk about this stuff. My sense is, I don't think from their side they were super excited about this news coming out. But it's been one, I can't say the only talking point, but ever since the Knicks' interest in Billy Donovan was revealed, his contract status has been a frequent discussion point in my conversations with those who are in coaching circles. And look, a source briefed on the talks has passed along that the talks actually did start before the Knicks showed interest, which would make sense given the fact that, again, Billy Donovan is down to the final year of his deal. But look, it's obviously I personally have been particularly plugged in to the Bulls last season and this season more than I normally would be, because you guys know I'm based in Dallas, not just because of my relationship with CHGO and making appearances with you guys, which has obviously been the fun part of the job. But going back to last season, Zach LaVine emerged on the trade market. I think it was before Thanksgiving. So the Bulls have been a team firmly on my radar since early last season because of the LaVine, the prospect of a potential LaVine trade, and all the trade possibilities that were discussed, those that finally happened with DeRozan exiting and Caruso exiting, bringing in Giddey, all of this season's talk, all the interest in Coby White that has been swatted away. It's been a pretty tumultuous past 2 seasons, and I don't know. Again, you guys live every dribble with this team, and I do not. But are we holding Billy Donovan culpable for the on-court ups and downs of the past 2 seasons? I do think the case can certainly be made that the roster tumult and the uncertainty that has surrounded the roster within the season the past 2 years has factored in to the on-court performance. And look, this is also not exclusive to Billy Donovan. In my old age, I've learned every fan base, there is a loud contingent within every fan base that is very unhappy with the coach. This is just daily NBA life. And I can talk about it when I'm on DLS, CHGO, PHNX, DNVR. I remember going on PHLY, the Sixers with all their injuries, and I remember they were saying, we got to fire Nick Nurse. So it's like, this is always part of the discourse. But again, I'm going to shut up now, and I want you guys who watch this team every day, you tell me, these past 2 seasons, I would argue that it's been difficult to hold Billy Donovan in some sort of firm, critical judgment, given how chaotic the past 2 seasons have been on the roster front.
No, that's true. It's hard to hold him in that firm judgment of it, for sure. But as I tell GOAT all the time, when you win, everybody gets a piece, and when you lose, everybody gets a piece. So Billy does, for me, play a part in the losing aspect too, as much as he plays in the winning.
And I will just add one thing. The Bulls losing in the play-in was a disappointment. The way they finished the season, a third straight loss to Miami. That was bad and disappointing. And yes, the coach has to be culpable in that scenario too, but that is a one-off game. And so I do think we have to factor that in.
That's true, but it is the game to decide your season. And if you're involved in that kind of loss, and I can point to you and say, oh man, if you did this, then I think you have an absolute problem. And I did that with Billy the previous season in the play-in when Coby took Coby White out of the game in the fourth quarter, put in Patrick Beverley. Bulls never scored again, and they ended up losing. But just looking at it on paper for Billy Donovan, it isn't the greatest thing. I mean, he's going into his 6th year as the Bulls head coach. He's the 3rd longest tenure head coach in the NBA behind Eric Spoelstra and Steve Kerr. And the record with the team is 195 and 205. He's had 1 season over 500, 1 playoff appearance when they lost in 5 to the Milwaukee Bucks, and 3 straight play-in tournaments, all losing to the Miami Heat. You're playing the same team. This one was even worse because they played the Heat the week previously. And then when in the play-in game, it was like they didn't play them at all. So, yes, I put some of that stuff on Billy. A majority of it I do put on the front office for sure, because you can only do as much as you can with what you're giving. And I watched Billy change this offense over in 1 season, which was really impressive to me, from that stagnant offense that didn't shoot threes, and their offense was basically DeMar DeRozan, and as Goat told me, Andre Drummond like getting rebounds and trying to put the ball back in. That was their offense. So you went from that to being a run and gun kind of style team that shoots a lot of threes and, playing the young guys more and, letting Giddey handle it. I give Billy all the credit for that. I give him the credit for what he's done with the defense. I think all of it is fair. But to act like you don't get a piece of what's going wrong would just be, for me, malpractice. You have to you have to get a piece of what is going wrong as much as you get a piece of what's going right, because you're the head of the team. So if you're the head, that's how I think it should kind of be looked at.
And for me, it's less about Billy and more about the ownership and front office and their willingness to continue on this path when the results have been what they have been. So, I think Billy's a good coach. I like Billy. I think he's been fantastic with the media. He's been a great figurehead for the organization in terms of delivering messaging. I don't have any problems with Billy whatsoever. I think, in fact, he's been scapegoated way more than he should have been. To me, it's about the organization and the direction that they've chosen. And that's always been, anytime I have a criticism about the team, it's why are we sticking to DeRozan, Caruso, Levine and Vucevic for the 3rd straight year when we've just seen them come up short for 2 seasons?
And I echo a lot of what you just said. And, that, I think that criticism is certainly valid. And look, I guess I would just ask also, because again, you guys are educating me here. Again, you guys live this every day. When it came out that the Knicks wanted to talk to Billy and the Bulls said no, what was the reaction? Unfortunately, I didn't catch that show. So what was the discussion reaction in the CHGO studios when that happened?
Are the Bulls really in a position to deny another team of looking? And so again, it doesn't surprise me in the least. It's more a statement about the direction of the team. And I think there are some people that are just going to be pissed off at Billy no matter what happens. Totally understand that. That's it just is what it is. To me, it's what does this signal about the way that things have gone and the way that they anticipate things will continue to go? So,
but we know, and look, we're in agreement there. And I mean, the Bulls have shown this for years. What are they trying to achieve? When are they going to start aiming higher? When are they going to pound the table, as Dave said, like Zach Kleiman did, and say 48 wins? Really what he was saying was not the win total. An 8th seed ain't good enough. We're not close. And I think that's what Bulls fans want to hear, and rightfully so, because it really has appeared for more than a quarter century that a full building is all that matters.
That's it, Marc Stein. That's it. A full building is simply what matters to them.
You guys don't sound much different than Bobby Carella, who sat right next to me, and when we're talking about this on DLS, and he's like, "What kind of draft compensation can we get for the coach?" I mean, that's what he wanted, and it sounds like I'm kind of getting the vibe. That's how you guys feel.
That's how we feel, Mark. We're gonna get out of here. I do want to know real quickly what you thought about this huge trade that happened.
It was the signal that for everyone promising how crazy this offseason is going to be, to have a deal of that magnitude 10 days before the draft should tell you. For me, as good as Desmond Bane is, great shooter, underrated playmaker, great age, under team control, it is a lot to give up. But more than that, this is Orlando's team now. They're locked into 4 $40 million players. Only Paolo Banchero is an all-star. Are Suggs and Wagner and Desmond Bane, can those guys be all-stars in the East? It's a fascinating move on both sides, and I know we don't really have time to get into it, but yeah, what a start to what is supposed to be a wild offseason.
That is Marc Stein. You can follow him on Twitter at the Stein Line. Make sure you're subscribing to his Substack as well. Thanks for joining us, Marc Stein. Goon of the Night win is again in your future.
And he'll be back throughout the offseason with more.
We got
slop, more rumors, more reactions.
Much more
hopefully
stuff.
More news with the Bulls. But
much more stuff to do and get into. Thank you all for joining us, man. Hit the like button on your way out. Make sure you're donating to the big brothers and big sisters of America on the icon that you see on your screen of the hands. Click it and go ahead and donate. Thank y'all for joining us. On behalf of Katie, the GOAT, I'm Big Dave. See you tomorrow. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.